Have you ever taken a bad iPhone photo? If so, you're definitely not alone. In fact, when I was getting started, I took so many bad photos with my iPhone. But here's the good news. Bad iPhone photos are almost always caused by the exact same mistakes. If you can simply avoid these 5 common mistakes, your iPhone photos are guaranteed to get better. And that's why I recorded the short video revealing the 5 most common iPhone photography mistakes. Now, if you can't hear me, please tap on this video to turn on the sound, and then we can get started. Now, one of the most common mistakes I see people make all the time is using the zoom of your iPhone to get closer to your subjects. But why would using the zoom of the iPhone be a mistake? Well, it turns out that when you're zooming on the iPhone, behind the scenes, what happens is that every time you take a photo while you're zoomed in, the iPhone actually crops that image before the photo is even taken. And this means that the resulting image will be of substantially worse quality. For example, if I now want to take a photo of this blue motorbike over there, and if I use 2 fingers to zoom in to get closer to the motorbike, I can take what looks like a really nice shot. But if we take a closer look at this particular image, you'll see that there are some serious quality problems. There's excessive grain, there isn't enough detail, and in general, this photo doesn't look as good as it should. And that's because we've zoomed in. So for the sake of comparison, let me walk closer to the bike and let's take another shot. So now I've walked closer to the bike, and if I lift up my iPhone to frame a shot, you'll see that on the left-hand side of the screen it says 1x, which means I'm zoomed all the way out. So if I go ahead and now take a photo, and if we do a side-by-side comparison, you'll see that the second photo is much better in terms of quality. There's more detail, there's less grain, and that's because the second photo does not use the zoom functionality of the iPhone. Now, if your iPhone comes with 2 lenses on the back, like this iPhone does, then you do have some flexibility in terms of zooming. And if that's the case, you can safely switch between the wide angle and the telephoto lenses without any quality loss. So to show you how to do this, I've now framed the shot of the bike once again, and you'll see that on the left-hand side, there's a button that says 1x. And if I tap my finger there, the iPhone quickly zooms in, and now it says 2x, which means that I've zoomed in 2 times. So if I now take a photo, that photo is taken using the telephoto lens of the iPhone, and there's no quality loss of any kind. To get back to wide angle, I'll tap on 2x again, and now I'm back at the wide angle lens. And I can safely switch between these 2 lenses without any quality loss whatsoever. With that said, it's not a good idea to use any other magnification, such as 1.5x or 3x, for example, because at any other level besides 1x or 2x, you will experience a serious quality loss. And if your iPhone doesn't have 2 lenses on the back, then simply don't zoom at all, because if you do, there will be significant quality loss, and you don't want that to your photos. Now, another common mistake I see iPhone photographers make all the time is having the horizon slanted in their photos. And unfortunately, nothing screams unprofessional more than having a slanted horizon. With that said, it's also a really common problem, and it's something that every iPhone photographer has to deal with. So how can you make sure that the horizon will be straight? Well, actually there are 2 things you can do. First, you want to make sure you turn on the grid lines in the Settings app of the iPhone. You want to go to the Settings app of the iPhone. Here you have to scroll down a little bit until you find Camera. Then tap your finger on Camera and you'll open Camera Settings. And the second option here is called Grid. So you want to make sure that the switch next to Grid is turned on. So now, with the Grid option on, you'll see that there are 2 horizontal and 2 vertical lines across the screen of my iPhone in the Camera app. And I can use these lines to align important objects or important lines in the scene with the grid lines to make sure that everything is nice and straight. For example, if I want to take a photo of this goal on the beach, and if I want to make sure that the horizon is straight, I'll then use the bottom grid line to align the horizon with the grid line perfectly, like so. And then, when I take a photo, I can be absolutely confident that the horizon will turn out straight. Now, shooting with the grid lines is really helpful, but you may still sometimes make a mistake. For example, if you're shooting from a really difficult angle and you cannot clearly see the grid lines. But no worries. Even when that happens, you can still fix a slanted horizon in post-processing. So let me show you how to do that. So this photo of my wife that I took this winter is really beautiful, but unfortunately the horizon is slanted. So I'm going to fix that by tapping the Edit icon at top right-hand corner. And from here, at the bottom of the screen, towards the left, I'm going to tap my finger on the Crop icon. The moment I open the Crop tool, you'll see that the photo is automatically straightened. And at this point, I'm pretty much done, and I could hit the Done button at bottom right. But sometimes the automatic straightening will not work out. And if you want to adjust how slanted the photo is manually, what you need to do is use your finger and swipe it horizontally right under the image where you see the circle. And as you swipe your finger there, you'll see how you can easily straighten the photo. So the goal here is to make sure that the horizon will be parallel to any of the horizontal lines that you can see on the screen. So after a careful adjustment, I think I got it right. So I'm going to go ahead and press Done at bottom right. And now this photo has been straightened. So as you can see, it's a really easy thing to do. And remember, nothing screams unprofessional more than a slanted horizon. One of the most common reasons iPhone photos end up blurry is because the focus is not set correctly. So how do you set focus on the iPhone? Actually, it's really simple. Let me show you how to do it. So when you first open the camera app of the iPhone, you'll see that the iPhone has already picked somewhat of an average focus for this photo. And we have these beautiful flowers in the foreground, as well as the street buildings in the background, but neither of them is really in focus because the iPhone has tried to make sure that as many parts of the photo as possible are in focus, and as a result, nothing is really in focus. So in order to fix that, all you have to do is use your finger and tap it on the screen where you want the focus to be. So right now, I'm going to tap on this flower in the foreground, and you'll see this yellow box appear, and that means that the focus is now set on the flowers in the foreground. Now, if I want to set the focus on the buildings in the background instead, all I have to do is tap my finger on these buildings in the background, and you'll see that now these buildings are in focus, but the flowers in the foreground are no longer sharp. Now, when I set the focus here on these buildings in the background, the image also became a little bit darker, and that's because when you're setting focus, you're also adjusting how dark or how bright the photo is going to be. So if that's a problem, it's really easy to fix, and all you have to do is simply swipe your finger up or down the screen like this, and you can make the photo darker or brighter if you need to do that. So now that I'm happy with both focus and exposure, I'm going to go ahead and take another photo, and if we compare these two photos side by side, you'll see that in the first photo, the flowers in the foreground are nice and sharp, but the buildings in the background are out of focus. While in the second photo, the buildings in the background are in focus, but the flowers in the foreground are no longer sharp. So the bottom line is this: if you want to make sure that your iPhone photos turn out great, you should always set the focus yourself. Otherwise, you're leaving your photos up to chance. Sometimes they'll work out, at other times they won't, but you will not get consistent results. Now, besides incorrectly set focus, one of the most common reasons why your iPhone photos end up blurry is called motion blur. And motion blur becomes a real problem when you're shooting in low light situations or indoors. Now, the reason motion blur is a problem in low light is because in low light, the shutter of your iPhone has to stay open for longer to let in the same amount of light. But any movement while the shutter is open results in blurry photos. And because of that, it's really important that in low light situations you hold your iPhone as steady as possible. So let me quickly show you what happens when you're shooting in low light and the iPhone is shaking. Now, as you can see, the photo we just took is really blurry, and obviously that's not what we want. So let me show you how to correctly hold the iPhone to keep it as steady as possible. Now, over the years, I've experimented with many different grip styles, and I can honestly tell you that this one is the best one. So if you're right-handed, like I am, you want to start by placing your left palm in front of you like this. Then you place your iPhone in the middle of your palm, like so, and you want to use your thumb to support one side of the iPhone and your little finger to support the other side of the iPhone. And the three fingers stay at the back of the iPhone to support it that way. Using this grip, you can quickly switch between portrait and landscape orientation, or you can move the iPhone in any way you want, and no matter what you do, the iPhone isn't gonna drop. It's a very steady grip. Then you can use your right hand to further support the iPhone from below, and now you're actually using two hands to keep the iPhone steady. And finally, you want to use the thumb of your right hand to adjust any settings on the screen or to gently press the shutter. And this is how you can hold your iPhone as steady as possible. Now, if conditions permit, you can further stabilize your body and your hands by leaning against a vertical wall like this, or alternatively, you can support your hands against a horizontal surface. For example, right now, I am supporting my hands against my knee, and my knee isn't moving much, and because of that, I can get an even steadier shot. So now, let's take another test photo, this time trying to keep the iPhone as steady as possible. Now, if we look at the photo we just took, you'll see how sharp it is, and if we compare the two images side by side, you'll see how important it is to keep your iPhone as steady as possible. Have you ever been in a situation where your iPhone takes a whole bunch of photos, but for whatever reason, they're all either too blue or too yellow, or perhaps they're all black and white, and you just don't understand what's happening? Well, it turns out that this happens to a lot of photographers. And the reason for this problem is that one of the built-in filters of the iPhone camera has been left on by accident. So let me show you how it works. I've found a really good cityscape photo, so I'm going to quickly set focus and go ahead and take a picture. But there's a bit of a problem. If you look at the screen more carefully, you'll see that the colors don't really look natural. And in general, the entire picture has this blue tone to it, and it doesn't really look pretty. So it turns out that one of the built-in filters of the iPhone camera has been left on by accident. And I can tell that because at the top right-hand corner of the screen, the icon that shows three overlapping circles is in color. So if I go ahead and tap my finger on the top right, you'll see that the filter menu at the bottom comes up, and here you can select between all sorts of different filters. But on the left-hand side, you have the option to select the original, which is essentially no filter at all. So I'm going to select that option, and to get rid of the filter menu, I will tap on the three overlapping circles at top right again, and now I'm ready to take another photo, this time without any of the built-in filters turned on. Now, what if you have a whole bunch of old photos on your iPhone and you don't like the filters that have been applied to them? Well, it turns out it's not a problem at all, because you can easily remove or change any of the filters after the photo is already taken. So let me show you how to do it. Now, the first thing you'll need to do is find the right photo in the Photos app of the iPhone. From there, tap on the edit icon at the top right, and at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the filters icon again. So if you tap your finger there, you'll see that all the filter options come up once again, and you can select any one of these options right now, or on the left-hand side, you can pick original, and this is how you remove a filter after the photo is already taken. So I could go for the original, or I can go through these filters one by one and find the one I like best. And actually, I think the Vivid Warm filter looks really great for this photo. So I'm going to go ahead and apply Vivid Warm by pressing Done at bottom right. And this is how you can remove or change the filters after a photo is already taken. Now, because it's so easy to do, I actually prefer to only work with these filters after the photo is taken. So if you'd like to apply a quick filter to your photos, You can simply use this method, and then you don't have to worry about selecting the correct filter before the photo is actually taken. Now, as you can see from the techniques I just shared, the iPhone camera looks really simple on the surface, but when you start digging deeper, it's really not that simple. There are so many hidden camera features and camera settings that you probably don't know about, and I could only share a handful of them in a short video like this. And to make things worse, it's not enough to simply learn about all the different iPhone camera features. You also have to understand how to use each one of them in different photography scenarios. We're talking about different light conditions, different photography subjects, and even different genres and styles of photography. But here's the good news. Once you really understand iPhone photography, you'll be able to take the kind of photos that nobody would even believe were taken with the iPhone. And that's why I created iPhone Photo Academy, which is an online course teaching you everything there's to know about iPhone photography. So right next to this video, you'll find more information about my full iPhone Photo Academy course. If you'd like to use your iPhone to take stunning photos that you'll be proud to look at many years later, and if you'd like to do it without having to carry your bulky camera, then please take a look at my full iPhone Photo Academy course. There's more information right next to this video, so take a look, and I really hope to see you there.